Welcome back to Daytime here on Rogers TV, and coming up on Sunday, June the 12th, starting at 10 a.m. in Victoria Park. It's the first one. It's the London Walk Now for Autism Speaks. We want to welcome Suzanne Lantier, and Suzanne is the Executive Director of Autism Speaks Canada. And Julie Frieden is with us, a participant in the walk. Thank you both for being with us.
Thank you.
Nice to see you. You have an interesting little team here in the city as well. I just want to go back for a couple. We did an autism fundraiser up at the down at the Hellenic Community Center, and boy, I really learned a lot. And I also learned you need some money.
Yeah, the local chapter of Autism Ontario is a very, very active chapter, and they're one of our community partners in the walk. And you know, it's one of the organizations that we look at sort of funding on an annual basis. We at Autism Speaks Canada, we raise money and we give out money. We give out money in research grants and we give out money in community grants. And Autism Ontario and the London chapter are one of those organizations that have submitted an application this year for a community grant. So Marty and the team at AO London are spectacular.
It kind of scares me now, actually, because I don't want to say no.
No, you can't say no.
You can't say no. And to be at that event and watch them do their thing, and it was like,
It's hard to say no to the autism community. We are a very passionate group of families and individuals, and certainly a community that's in need, and that's one of the reasons why we're here bringing the walk to London.
Nice. Julie, you are going to be in the walk. What is your attachment with it, or your relationship with it?
I'm a mom of a 5-year-old with autism, and we wanted to get involved and raise some awareness for autism.
How old is he?
He'll be 5 on Friday.
Okay. If you don't mind, take us through when you thought that something might not be quite right.
Probably around 19 months, he started really showing some severe signs, playing with objects in odd ways. He had a really large regression in language. So for us, that kind of, we weren't really sure what was going on at the time.
Hi there,
After
Elsie
knowing
John,
and taking that look back, we definitely saw signs much earlier, probably around 6 months, where we started to see things kind of happening. So
my cousin's son is autistic, and I've watched them on their journey through it all, and it kind of started similar the same way. And I asked him, I said, Darren, I said, how did you know, you know? And he says, well, when we would call him or just try to get his attention, it was so tough to get his attention to the point where it wasn't right, because he was so focused on doing what he was doing. So what did you do then once you?
Well, once we've kind of found out that autism was our direction, that's what was going on. We started with diets and really just trying to pull him away from that strong stare, I guess would be the best word. Just trying to get in his face a little bit more and, you know, make that stronger effort of, instead of accepting that you're not going to look at me or talk to me, no, we're gonna talk, and we're gonna.
That's great.
Yeah.
We'll talk more about that coming up in our second segment. I want to go back to the walk here at Victoria Park. I really like that you're using Victoria Park. I think people are forgetting about Victoria Park for these. You know, we have other great parks in the city, but I like it. So June 12th. Now, what do you need? You need some participants? You want some money? What do you want?
We need participants. We need participants from the London community, from communities outside of London. What we're trying to do with the event is we are trying to get the largest gathering of the autism community together in one place.
Okay.
And we're really happy with Vic Park. It is such a central location, a marquee venue. The people of the city are fantastic.
Yes.
And one of our other key players are the folks at Joe Cool's, Ron Scarfoni and his wife Lisa, fantastic individuals. So,
and you know, I'd like to mention Ron just for a moment too. And I kind of got to know Ron at various events, but one of the most unassuming, kind of behind-the-scenes guy. But you know, Ron and Mike Smith and everybody in the Joe Cool's umbrella, they really give back to the community.
They really do. And Ron has 2 kids with autism. And he's been very involved. And you know, we've been talking with Ron for a few years about bringing the walk to London and about, you know, trying to get awareness out on a larger scale. And, you know, with his support, we've got such a great lineup. We've got Juno Award-winning entertainer Jack Runsky coming to perform. The London Knights are participating. Sir Scores-a-Lot is going to be out there. We've got some Star Wars mascots. Lots of bouncy houses and face painters. It's just going to be a great festival of fun for the families.
So we should say it's more than the walk, obviously, which I think is good too.
Yes, it's way more than the walk. The walk is actually a very short walk in and around the park. But what we try to do is create an event for our families that they wouldn't otherwise be able to participate in. You know, when you have a child with autism, it can be a very isolating experience. So what we do is we try and create a place where you can come and your kids can go down a slide, or they can get their face painted. And if their child happens to be having a meltdown that day, everyone else around you knows what that feels like. You know, it's a wonderful experience. I'm also a mom with a son on the spectrum, and it's a great experience to know that you can come to a place and not have people stare at you, and just have a great time of fun with your kids.
We're going to take a quick break, and you mentioned that, what you just said there, on the spectrum. We'll talk about that when we come back, okay?
Great.
Oh. Isn't that great, everybody? And that date again is Sunday, June the 12th, 10 a.m. at Victoria Park. And Walk Now for AutismSpeaks.ca is a website. That's a long one. Just watch the bottom of your screen. But one thing we always like to remind you, if you miss anything on our show, all you need to do is go to ROGERSTV.com. We'll get you any info you need. We'll have more right after these. Welcome back to the show, chatting with Suzanne and Julie. We're talking about a lot here, including the London Walk Now for Autism Speaks. That is June the 12th, starting at 10 a.m. in Victoria Park. We'll recap that again a little bit. We have so much to get to. Ladies, again, thank you so much for being here. Suzanne, and you're the Executive Director of Autism Speaks Canada. Again, for people who missed our first segment, maybe just a quick overview of what that is.
Autism Speaks Canada is an organization that essentially raises money and gives out money. We give out money to researchers across Canada. We also give out money in community grants. So last year, as an example, we funded over $500,000 in various community grants from coast to coast across Canada. So, and research, we've funded over $9 million worth of research in Canada. We've got some fantastic Canadian research going on that's really having an impact globally. So we're really, really proud of our Canadian researchers, and we're proud about the fact that, you know, we've brought this walk to London that joins our walks in Toronto, Edmonton, Vancouver, and Montreal, all to raise money for research and family services.
One thing I love about doing the show, and I hope people at home do too, is I learn so much about things that I just don't know. And right before the break, you mentioned you were talking about on the spectrum.
Right.
How did you phrase that? Can you phrase it again?
Well, on the spectrum is, you know, autism is actually a spectrum.
Okay.
If you think about autism in terms of a rainbow, where you have individuals who are impacted by autism at the low end, and then also higher functioning individuals with autism. So we call it a spectrum. Like the rainbow, and you know, the thing about autism is that it impacts every individual differently. What we try and make people understand is that while autism is diagnosed typically when kids are under the age of 2, autism doesn't go away. Autism just grows up. So we spend a lot of time and we focus on children and young families, but really autism impacts adults, young adults. You don't outgrow autism. It looks differently as you get older, obviously, but it is a disorder that is lifelong. And a lot of our families, most people require lifelong supports.
And we mentioned, we're talking in the first break, it's your son who has, okay. So when you think of the future, and I'm sure that's something that you think about, what are you thinking? What are you planning? What are you thinking about?
Well, obviously we hope for the best. But we are realistic on that he could live with us as an adult. We hope that he gets to live on his own and go to college and things like that, but we are really realistic that he could end up living with us, being, you know, having a very simple job. But like I said, we do hope just for the best that, you know, he can get out into the community on his own and do things like that.
I'm just thinking back to that event that we were talking about that I hosted, and I learned a lot about that, and I was trying to listen a lot that night too, because just take me through government funding. There's no government funding, correct? I know that's what a lot of them were, like, there's not real, is there like this is what we're doing for it, this is that? Is there, what is there?
There is, depending on where you live, we speak specifically about Ontario, there is some government funding available for one specific form of therapy, and that's applied behavioral analysis therapy, ABA therapy. But it doesn't meet the needs of the now 1 in every 110 children is being diagnosed with autism. So there is funding available, but it's an extraordinary wait for funding. And you have to qualify in Ontario to receive that funding. So in what I like, how I describe it to people is very real, is that you have to qualify for the privilege of sitting on a wait list to receive funding. So and what we know about autism now is that the earlier you diagnose and the earlier you start interventions like this ABA therapy, the better off it is. So if you have a family waiting for 2 years to get services, that's really quite a crime, and that's one of the other reasons why we want to get as many people together for this walk as possible, is to bring attention to that fact, is that, you know, waiting 2 years is too long.
It's a long time. Now, Julie, you have a website. This is your website, correct? And it is learningtohavehope.ca, learningtohavehope.ca. Tell us about that.
It's a website, being a student, I wanted to connect with other families. I found the greatest comfort in hearing other people's stories. Just having that one little thing that you go, I went through that. I'm not alone. That was where I found in books and things like that. And I thought, I'm a graphic designer. So for me, I could use my talent to connect with other parents who may not be able to get out to a support group, which there are some in London. But for me, I didn't have time to be away from home. So doing it's a website where there's a forum on it where people can go on, post their stories, ask questions, and there's a community of parents on there right now that are sharing things and sharing advice, which is really great.
Well, ladies, thank you so much for being here. I hope we got everything out there, because I love hearing the stories, and I've been learning a lot more about it after being involved. So way to go. The walk again is Sunday, June the 12th, 10 a.m. Victoria Park. And there's a phone number on your screen, and walk now for autismspeaks.ca is the website, so you can register and then come on out and do your thing.
Right. There's no minimum amount that no registration fee, and you don't. There's no minimum amount you need to raise to participate. We want the autism community and any other people to come out and have fun.
Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
And a special note, as Suzanne mentioned a little bit earlier on, to Ron and everybody over at Joe Cool's and their umbrella of restaurants, always giving back to the community. Our website, did you miss any of that? RogersTV.com for any info. More right after these.